I don't really think I have to introduce you a whole lot. So let's just say that it's a pleasure to speak again. I think it's been like, I don't know, 2.5 years since we've last talked. And it's been a while. And of course, I've been following the developments of your career as well, among other athletes. And it's been such a pleasure and such a thrill as well, I have to say. So many very emotional moments, I'm sure for you as well, for your fans, absolutely. I remember that like the first time when we were talking, you said that one of your big goals was to get the golden medal on the World Championships. Then you got a golden medal. And this year you successfully defended the gold medal on the long distance, which was such a race to watch. Oh my God. Like it was difficult to sit in a chair. Like I've been watching it from home. It was difficult to sit in the chair watching this, and I like the cameras over there on the arena show that it was absolutely emotional for you as well, being there and watching this happen live, right?
Yeah. Or first of all, I was already really emotional coming to the finish and knowing, yeah, I have that silver medal, everything's okay. Because the day before I was like so disappointed with my own race.
Yeah,
So
on the middle distance.
I was really hoping for that medal, and then crossing the finish line, hearing your second, it was such a big relief. But then, yeah, the rest was even more emotional.
Yeah. So I guess the question that I have around this is like, did you learn anything new from the process of defending the title versus getting the title? Has there been anything different in this journey for you?
I think the biggest difference is maybe that this time I knew it's possible. I've already done it once, so I can also do it a second time. But otherwise, I actually didn't really think about defending the title. I just thought about the race itself and that I wanted to perform well and win that gold medal. But yeah, it had been such a difficult year with not the really best preparation. So I wasn't really sure if it would even be possible to win or fight for that gold medal. But I just wanted to try it. So maybe it was a bit another like starting point of the whole thing.
Like, so for the people that don't follow you super closely, can you tell us a bit more about what was difficult that year in terms of the preparation?
Well, I had last fall 1 year ago, I had to study almost 100% because the university, I had already been studying for, I think it was 6 years or 7 years. So I really had to get some points from exams. So I decided that I just had to make a bit of an effort and to write more exams than I usually did. So that was just way too much with all the training, like just going on like normal. And then I realized it quite quickly that it was getting too much, and I tried to reduce some training in order to come back, and that works pretty well, and I felt good again. But then somehow with the second period of exams, it all started over again, and then I just didn't feel well the whole winter, couldn't train what I wanted to, felt like it suddenly became too much with all the training, and I wasn't even close to the training amount I had trained the year before. And everything I tried to do didn't work, and the shape didn't come back. So I also tested the blood, I tested asthma, I tested for basically everything, and nothing really showed any results that I could use. So yeah, the shape just suddenly returned after a training camp in May. No idea why, because it was the year that probably it was the first year I trained like normally again, or biggest training amount for sure the whole year, and took one easy day after that, and then I suddenly felt like there was something different again, like the body felt normal again, and I could go for easy runs, and I felt okay. I didn't feel like I didn't want to train.
Like for me personally, that's so interesting because it's interesting because normally you're thinking, okay, studying, like not doing anything physical, not working physically, how big of a strain on the body is it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But then you put a professional athletes into an environment where you have to spend a lot of time doing mental work. I think we call it like this, right? Just mental work, some people might say. But the difference is just that you're unable to perform on a normal level, normal for you, of course, because working with your brain is still such a hard work, especially if you like have to do something really difficult and you put all your attention into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I also felt like it was some period where I didn't do that much orienteering, so I felt like it shouldn't be any problem for like the head that it's too much. But it's just, I think it's just like all the recovery time that I have in my normal life got cut out, and I didn't get that recovery anymore. And then the body quite quickly said no or stop.
So that's exactly what I've been thinking. So it's hard to probably put an exact pin into it because it's not a scientific study, but it's probably because of the recovery that normally you did in a certain way, and now suddenly it was missing, or you were doing less than you normally do.
Exactly.
And training hard on a professional level, recovery is like a super important part of the process.
Definitely learned that as well now.
Yeah. Like I think I think at some point in our lives we all learned that okay, we are not 18 anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the biggest proof was when I just dropped the studies in March, because I thought that now I have to decide what I want to do, and that's definitely sports. So I focused 100% on sports again, got the recovery time back, and then it took 2 more months, and then the shape was back. So yeah.
Okay. So like you abandoned the studies completely, or are you planning to return there at some point in time?
Exactly.
Do you plan to return at some point in time?
Yes, I had one exam 2 days after European champs, but that didn't go that well.
Okay.
Because of course I didn't do anything during the whole semester before, because I was afraid that the body would shut down again. So I basically started to study a bit for that exam, like 1 month before European champs, just like a bit at a time, and concentrated everything on those 2 days after EOC. But it was not possible to like learn all that stuff within 2 days. So definitely not possible.
So I was actually going to go there a little bit later, but let's ask this now. Do you think what you're going to be doing after the end of your career?
I actually don't know. I just started my studies before I knew that I was going to be a good enough orienteer to earn enough money. So right now I think that I should have never started the studies, because now I have the problem that I have invested so much into those studies, and I don't just want to abandon them. So I want to be done with them and want to finish them next summer, hopefully. But I actually honestly don't think I will do anything with them in the future. Maybe it's sports studies, so maybe they help me for like some treadmill analysis stuff, or maybe more scientific stuff, or then I could imagine to become a coach or something like that after the career. But until then, that's hopefully quite a long time still. So we'll see.
Okay, so you're not really thinking about it just yet.
No, definitely not. I just want to be done with my studies because I don't want to abandon them. But otherwise, I really don't know.
Yeah, it's like it does make sense to me. Like you're so close to the end that it would make
Exactly.
sense to just finish it with all the time invested in it. But still, you know your priorities, which is awesome. So it's great that you can also make those difficult decisions and focus on what's important for you at this point in time the most. Let's jump for a moment to European champs. I think like for many, orienteering is a constant battle between speed and precision. And can you share a moment from a race from the European champs, perhaps the one that you made a mistake at, where you had like a critical decision to make during the race, and like on the fly you had to recover after a mistake and come back to the race? How do you train your mind to handle such a pressure? And is it difficult for you, or is it like, you know, years of training and you're just so used to making mistakes that coming back to the race is just snap and you're back again?
Yeah, I would say there were two of those situations. One at the knockout final and one the sprint final. And both were quite similar, I would say. It's just that you should take the time to read the map before you run. And both times I didn't do it. Knockout sprint, I think it's a bit harder to do it as you have the pressure like in real time that there's runners behind you and they're also running fast.
Yeah.
But the sprint there, you definitely, it's hard to stand still, but you should definitely stand still if you don't have a good route. But it's really hard to train that, as you don't really have those situations in normal trainings. You don't have that pressure that you want to win and you're afraid to lose those seconds. So I guess it's just experience, and I'm still not there, or not there anymore. Maybe I really noticed that those kind of decision moments where you have to take those short decisions, but like really important ones, and that you should take your time for them to take them. Those I'm really not used to anymore after the forest, because in the forest everything goes so slow. You have the time, or also there I feel like it's really hard to stand still and to take your time to decide the route. But I feel like it's a lot easier than in sprint where everything goes that fast.
Yeah, so like I think both races are very fast, but still sprint is much faster when it comes to like everything that is happening around you and this decision making. So
Exactly.
you're probably right. And an interesting fact for everyone is that what I've noticed working with many people, talking to many people, is that stopping to just figure out what's going on, or stopping to figure out what's the plan for the next leg, is one of the hardest things for athletes in orienteering. Especially if you're in a good shape and you have the strength to run. It's just so hard to slow down and to stop. But anyway, how did you like the knockout sprint?
It was great.
I feel like do you like this format of racing in general?
I feel like, to me, it's more like a game.
Uh-huh.
I can't take it that seriously, because I think if I take it too seriously, then I get crazy. But if you take it like as a game and just want to play that game round after round, then I think it's a really cool format. Like I like having that pressure and the race being also a bit more tactical.
Uh-huh. Why are you saying that if you take it too seriously, it drives you crazy?
It's like everything can happen. In like it just takes such a small moment where you're not ready or not focused enough, and then you lose the whole chance of getting to the final. Or so you can drop out in the quarterfinals, or you can drop out in the semis, or you can make it to the finals. And there's a lot of luck in that, in my opinion, as well.
And I think we are seeing it in the results of the knockout sprints that are happening. That still, of course, very good runners are placing in a top, but there is usually quite a significant mix-up from the typical formats of races, right? And I can tell you that one of the biggest surprises I've seen in there, which was I was really happy about it, because it happened to a colleague of mine from Polish orienteering. I'm not sure if it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, but it was very recent. And we had a knockout sprint organized in Poland. And during this knockout sprint, in men elite, the guy who won this sprint was a guy that I basically almost started orienteering with when we were kids, and we've been in orienteering our whole lives. So he was like 42 years old, right? And he is a fast runner, especially in those shorter distances. He's never had a Polish championship medal in his career ever, right? But in knockout sprint, he was able to come first because of how strategic, and sometimes unforgivable it is to just those tiny mistakes. So yeah, I think it is a very interesting format, and I think your approach to it, to take it more like a game or a challenge rather than super serious, is probably the right mindset, at least at this point in time, because of how difficult also I think it is for organizers to make it very fair to everybody and to eliminate those random or like maybe unfair advantages that some runners can have over others. Still, I'm super happy that we're exploring those new formats and testing
and
it.
I mean, also for spectators, it's a great
exactly. So that's very cool. Let me see. What's next do I have? What's the most common strategic mistake you see in developing orienteers, if you have these kind of observations? So I think this might be interesting for people that are not as high as you in their careers. I'm sure that many people who will watch this are somewhere at the beginner's level or maybe intermediate level. So if they would be to improve something, what's one simple things do you think that everybody can implement in their race to see a significant improvement? I'm sure it's a tricky one for you. You're not a coach yet, so.
I mean, I know how I learned that whole orienteering stuff, and it was with the one word in German. It's called Norda, and I think it's N stands for Norden, so turning the map to north. O for orienteering, just finding your way. D for distance, like knowing how far I have to run to the control. And A for Anhaltspunkt, something behind the control. That's like some safety line where you know that you've run too far. And I think a common mistake is to like skip one of the steps and, for example, not turn the map towards north in the beginning. Then that's already the first mistake, because then orienteering becomes really hard. And I think if you have that word in your mind, then it makes a lot easier. Or I always made I always ran with that word in my mind, and every control I stood still. Okay, Norda, and then I went through all those steps, and then I ran. That's cool. I think that helped me a lot.
That's cool. I'm teaching something similar. It's not connected to any acronym, but basically like I encourage every runner to have their own mantra of the things that they should always that they know are always important to them at every leg. And then it's helpful not only to remember about all of those things, but I think it's also helpful when you're feeling that you're falling out of focus. Sometimes you have a longer leg and you're running and you feel your mind drifting to something else, school, studies,
Yeah,
family,
exactly.
love, relationships, and whatnot. And then the simplest way to bring yourself back on track is to start thinking about something specific about the race. So you can't just tell yourself, stay focused, because that doesn't
Mm,
work. What works are
no,
specific
no.
instructions. So that's,
Uh,
and that's why if you ask yourself, okay, do I know the direction that I should be going to? Do I know the distance? Do I know
mm,
what's stopping me when I not hit the
yeah,
control and so on? Then the main, sorry, not the main, but the brain immediately gets back on track because these are specific instructions. And so that's exactly what you're doing with Norta.
uh,
Okay, cool. That's I think very useful for the people watching. Um, Another question. So I have also a few questions I have from the people. You saw the reel on Instagram. So a few questions came in. But I'll ask one right now because it overlaps with one of my questions. You've had quite, I would say, challenging time recently in terms of the amounts of races that you've been doing, I feel.
mhm,
Right. So it like there were
that's right.
lots of them in a
Mm.
short period of time. You've been traveling all over the world for those races. By the way, how did you like the World Games?
It was great, or it was like so special. And yeah, I mean, I went there for experience.
Uh-huh.
As for orienteers, yeah, it's not that big of an event, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I also, in my opinion, I think that it should become like a bigger event for orienteers. That it's really important as well, almost as important as the Olympics, maybe, because it has a lot of potential and it's a great event.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Were,
it
were
was
you able
special,
to?
and the sprints were definitely some of the greatest sprints I've ever run.
Yeah, I
Really
was
cool.
going to ask about it. So how did you handle the heat first?
Um, I have to say I trained quite a lot because I didn't taper. I used the heat for heat trainings,
Uh-huh.
and I think that was a really good thing to get acclimatized to the heat. So the
Okay.
heat wasn't that big of a problem anymore after like 3 days with a lot of heat training.
Okay. And like the second question I had about the World Games is specifically about the sprint, because when we were doing the analysis before the World Games with Jonas Ferenc, who I'm working with, and we were looking at the mock-up map, and I was like, God damn, this terrain is so fun to run at, like so many small alleyways, so many
Mm,
places where you need to be very, very cautious, and like, and we actually had this discussion where like theoretically the typical sprint shouldn't be like that, because the typical sprint should be rather towards this fast orienteering
mm.
rather than fast but very precise orienteering at the same time. So it definitely was the typical sprint, but at the same time, it's definitely a sprint that I, as a runner, would enjoy because I prefer those. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I felt like actually first I thought that it would be kind of a sprint where you can't run that fast.
Hmm.
But then right before the sprint, I decided to take the magnifier with me. And then during the sprint, I felt like it was some high speed orienteering after all.
Okay.
Like if you know where to go, you can run really fast. But you just have to know where to go. And the only way to know that was a magnifier, in my opinion, or my eyes aren't that good anymore to see those extremely small gardens on that
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
But
And there
it
were
was so cool.
several of them. Yeah.
You kind
Um,
of lose the feeling of time in
hmm.
that terrain for
And
sprint.
I like I haven't been there, but I think visually it was also beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Cool. I envy you a little bit. Anyway, coming back to like lots of races in a short period of time, and also coming back to the recovery that we've been talking about earlier. How do you recover during such an intense period where you have so many races that you have to run at full speed?
Yeah, as I said, I prioritize the big races. So like World Games was more like an experience, and I trained quite a lot there, so I took it more as a big training block with good
Okay.
races. Like the sprint races were good preparation for EOC, not really similar terrain, but
Yeah.
like otherwise it was just sprint races, of course. You had to run fast, you had to focus, you needed to have some tactic to know how to race. And I felt like it was a really good week of racing that gave me a lot of motivation as well, maybe. Just before the races, I was not really motivated for that much sprint orienteering. Um, Coming from the forest, it's for me it's always really hard to be motivated for sprint orienteering or training mostly. The
Yeah.
races are fun. That I don't have any problem to motivate myself for, but the training is what is a bit harder in my opinion.
Okay. And what do you do specifically as your recovery time or recovery sessions? Do you like take, I don't know, ice baths or something
Yeah,
like
if
that?
I have some kind of place where I can do that, then yes. But usually that's a bit hard to find. So during World Champs, it was ice bath. So there we were at some hotel where there were lots of spa facilities. But usually it's just lying on the bed, sleeping as much as possible, maybe reading a book, watching some movies, just not doing anything that needs energy
Hmm.
between the trainings or after races.
Okay. Okay. So basically, for people that are wondering, you're just handling uh, often more than one session a day with just some downtime and resting and chilling
Exactly.
and having good
Yes.
time in the meantime, probably.
Exactly.
Ah, it's good to be young.
I think so too.
um, let's come back to your studies for a moment. So I think the studies were around psychology.
Yeah, that was back at that time. No, I studied the sports science and main subject, and
Uh-huh.
then the like minor subjects were psychology and education science.
Mm.
But the psychology part was a bit hard to do as they were really strict with the exams, and I would have had to write the exams exactly the date where everyone else had to write
Okay.
them at university, and that wasn't possible as
Yeah,
they're
with your
usually in
schedule.
June or beginning of July, and there's World Cup races, or then the other exams in August. Like this time, it didn't really work 1 week or 2 days after EOC. So yeah, I basically had to find something else, and now I'm studying economics instead of psychology.
Oh, okay. Did like while studying psychology, did you learn anything useful for orienteering during that period of time?
Mm, I would say so. Maybe like some strategies to like relax the head, or some strategies to um, like relieve for pressure, or just to handle pressure a bit better. Um, that I think so. But it was quite similar to the stuff we learned, for example, in the junior national team,
Hmm.
or even earlier, or then in sports psychology, which was part of the sports studies. So yeah,
Okay,
was
so nothing
yeah,
extraordinary.
no,
Okay.
but for sure something.
All right. So let's change the topic a little bit as well. Mm, do you know the phrase of being in the zone? I'm sure you do.
Yes, yes,
Do you
like
feel
some
that
flow feeling.
yeah,
You
flow
mean?
feeling, being in the
Yes.
zone, that's the same thing.
Mm.
Do you feel that you have this when you're doing orienteering?
Not always. But
Do you
I
have
feel
like
like when it's a really good race, for
uh
example, like the race, the middle distance race last year at EOC,
yeah.
there I felt like it was definitely some kind of flow feeling when just everything goes well and you see everything that you want to see and you feel like you're good. You're running well.
Do you have your way of getting into the zone, or is it happening on random?
I think it's quite random. Or of course it depends on how capable you feel. If you're like totally overstrained by everything at that moment, then it of course doesn't happen. And I think in order to avoid that, you have to take your time in the beginning of the race. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just taking the time you need to understand the map before you increase the speed. But I also feel like it's sometimes it doesn't even happen when you do that in the beginning and when you feel like everything's okay.
Hmm. Do you feel like you're giving yourself time at the beginning of the race before you increase the speed? Because when I watch your races, it seems that you're usually one of the fastest runners
Yeah.
at the beginning of the
But I
courses.
really try to, honestly.
All right.
Or that's what I always tell myself before the start. Just take your time until you know where to go, and then you can increase the speed. But I think I'm also some kind of person that understands the map quite quickly in the beginning.
Oh,
Or I can look at the map and then I usually see quite quickly where to go and what it looks like in the terrain.
okay. All right. Fair
It's more
enough.
like a problem when I get tired and then lose the focus.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
it's a bigger problem.
That's usually what is much more challenging.
Mm.
Um, if you would be to point one of the three things as the most important element for a successful orienteer, and you would have to choose between physical endurance, fast navigation, and perfect mental clarity, which one do you think is the most, the one that impacts the final score in the most way, in the highest way?
And I think it could even be the mental point. Because I feel like you can have the speed, you can have the technical abilities, but still, when it's a race situation,
Hmm.
you can't do it.
Okay. I guess, okay, maybe my question is not very smart, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Because I think it's very situational, right? But I think you're thinking about those very high stakes races,
Yeah,
like world
exactly. Like
championships,
for
right?
example, world champs
Um,
or
yeah.
European champs.
And then probably this mental clarity is the most important element. I think I would agree with this. Whereas if you're running a race with lower stakes, where maybe you're not that stressed about the outcome
Exactly.
or your performance, then probably I would probably place orienteering skills at the second level. But that also still depends on what level we're talking about. If you're towards the beginner and intermediate level, it's probably more orienteering skills. If you're rather towards the elite orienteering, I think it's a little bit more towards the physical shape actually, because you can allow yourself to. I mean, you can't allow yourself. Well, okay, you can allow yourself to make small mistakes because they always happen, but your orienteering, even if it's not perfect, you won't probably make like 20 minutes of a mistake. So if you're very fast, you can still catch up with some of the time
Yeah.
that you've lost.
Yeah.
By the way, I was wondering about this, looking at your races this year. Like last year, I had the feeling that in women lead category, there were two at the lead, so you and Tove, and then there was the rest. I felt like physically, in terms of physical shape only, I felt that you were visibly stronger than the rest of the pack. You know, maybe not by a huge degree, but still significant enough that it was possible to see this gap between you and them. How do you feel about this year? I wasn't sure about it this year, especially after the European Championships races, but at the same time, I think you also made significant mistakes. So I think like maybe the physical shape was still there. What do you think?
Yeah, I felt like at least the knockout sprint, and yeah, maybe also the sprint final. I felt really good, and I felt like I had a higher speed. But yeah, then the problem is that you have to read the map as well.
Yeah.
So 50 seconds of mistakes are definitely too much for a sprint, and
Yeah.
then you pay for it. And that's what orienteering is, so it's totally fair. It's not only the legs that count.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like maybe I'm not exactly at the same level as at the sprint races last year, but I feel like I'm definitely on the way back to that point where I was last year. But it took some time as I had a really bad winter. And then also the first races, or I work up in Idre, I also felt like I wasn't really there where I wanted to be. But yeah, at that moment I was happy where I was, as it could have been much worse. But then World Champs were even one step better. And then I felt like the transition from forest to sprint happened quite quickly, or faster than I would have expected it. And I was really happy that it took me like 2-3 weeks, and then I felt comfortable again with the speed on hard surface. But not the days after World Champs, or like I ran the 5,000-meter test. That was probably 2 weeks after World Champs, and there I really felt that the speed wasn't there at all. It was so weird to run on hard ground, and not to have anything under your feet, just the track. So
Yeah. Did you run the 5K also earlier in the season before the most important races?
No.
Okay.
Or
So
I wanted to run some 3K last winter, but then I was in such a bad shape that
yeah.
I thought that there was no point in running
Okay.
those kind of races. And I was also almost signed up for Swiss Champs in 10K,
Mhm.
but then I also had to skip that one because it was just nonsense.
Yeah. What time did you get for the 5K test?
I think it was 17:15 or something like that, but I paced my other teammates, so I wasn't really running for a good time. I could have run a bit faster, I think, but I could have never run my PB from last year.
Okay. Makes sense. How do you feel about the sprint season coming up?
Yeah, as I said, I feel like I'm more motivated for only forest races. I like sprint. It's not that I don't like it at all, but I feel like only sprint is a bit boring. It's just boring training for me. As forest, you can do so much different training. You're out in nature, and here with a sprint, I don't like asphalt, so it's hard to train only on hard surface. But I also feel like it's some cool challenge to get faster again, to get like to become a good runner, to maybe also challenge the Swiss runners and not only orienteers. And there's lots of races that I can run in the fall and also winter time that are really motivating me to train a lot of flat speed as well.
Okay. So it's like, from what you're saying, I hear that it's mostly because the training sessions that you have to do for the sprint distances are different. You have to run more on a hard surfaces, spend less time, I don't know, on some nice paths throughout the nature.
Exactly.
Or maybe even doing, you probably also do less map forest training sessions because they
exactly.
don't really translate very well to the speed.
Yeah, and I also feel like slow sprint sessions, I don't do those because those I feel like they're really
You
boring.
mean the map? The
Yeah,
map.
the map trainings,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
slow,
Same.
easy sprint trainings.
Same.
I feel like sprint intervals, those are no problem. Those I like. But
Yeah.
as soon as it gets into slow sprinting, then I feel like it's way too boring. And also the
What even
races,
is
I
slow
like
sprinting?
the
Like
mix.
slow sprinting shouldn't exist.
No, no. 1 year of only sprint is too much sprinting, in my opinion. But there's others that like it, so
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have to compete in this nonsense of sprint years. I definitely wouldn't be a fan of that. But I understand the reasoning behind it, so it is what it is, I guess.
yes, we have to deal with it.
Yeah. Uh, what are your goals still for this season? Is it to win the World Cup or is it something else next to it as well?
No, it's definitely the World Cup. World Cup overall is something really big in orienteering, I feel. So it would be really cool to win it again after last year.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, there's of course several races. I'm thinking about the European Cross Country Championships.
Oh.
But the selection races are a bit, yeah, on wrong dates, where we have orienteering races. So I don't know yet what I will do, but it would be cool to try to get a place there.
Okay. All right. Let me check the questions that I got on Instagram as well, so that we don't forget to ask those. How do you plan your weekly training? How many key sessions do you have, and what do you do to recover? Okay, so we covered the last one. So planning the weekly training and how many key sessions do you put into there?
Well, basically, it's every week is about the same. I do double threshold on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Saturdays if there's no races. If there is races on the weekends, then it changes the whole thing a bit. Then I usually just change the fast sessions, the easy sessions, maybe also a bit less. Those are just to fill up the trainings in between those key sessions. Um, and then I have 2 really short strength training sessions of 20 minutes that I usually put wherever it fits best in the week. But yeah, those threshold sessions, it's usually about 30 minutes in the morning of hill intervals or sprint intervals in sprint season, and then in the afternoon it's something shorter intervals on the treadmill or something like, for example, 45 seconds and 15 seconds break 30 times or something like that, just to get the legs to run a bit faster.
Okay. And another question from Elif is, what kind of supplements and vitamins do you use, if any?
Well, not really much during the races. I use some caffeine shots, but otherwise, I don't really use any supplements.
Okay.
Maybe
But
some iron, but that's the only thing.
do you take iron like systematically or
Yeah,
just
yeah,
occasionally
exactly.
when you? Okay.
Yes,
So you must have had
because
some
I'm
problems with
basically always
with
low
your
in iron.
blood results. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I also have to
Mm.
test the blood quite often in order to avoid low iron levels.
Yeah. I think it's pretty typical among women, especially doing
Exactly.
the running.
Yeah.
So not surprising. All right. Another question. Actually, a small follow up on this. You're not taking any supplements, but you do care about your diet, don't you?
Not really, I would
Oh,
say.
that's surprising.
Or I care a lot about eating enough at the right times,
Mm.
but not
Enough in terms of
exactly what
calories.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like that I eat some protein after hard sessions or races. That, yes, but and that I eat enough before races and
Okay.
afterwards to recover better. But it doesn't really matter what it is.
So you're like okay with some junk food, hamburgers,
Yeah, not
whatever
too
you can
often,
get.
but I like it, so no problem. There's also weeks we only eat tacos, so
Okay. All right. Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
matter,
yeah.
at least
I guess
when
young
it's food,
body's
then
forgiving.
food is
But
food.
yeah, maybe there is even room for improvement over there.
Well, maybe.
Because I've heard from several people that changing their diet to be more focused on eating healthily had
Mm,
a positive impact
okay.
on the recovery rates, sleeping patterns, strength in general,
Well,
being able to like performance in general, I guess you could
yeah, of
say.
course I don't just eat like
I know.
burgers. Of course I eat like I always make sure that for a meal there has to be some green stuff, some carbs,
Yeah.
and some protein. But then I don't really care what it is or yeah.
Yeah. So they're like not very strict about it, but still, if we would like analyze your diet, it would probably be skewed more towards this healthy part rather than unhealthy
Yeah,
part.
exactly. The goal is
Absolutely.
not to eat very unhealthy.
Yeah. All right. The next one I have from Toby. In a race, how do you keep pushing yourself to be aggressive? And I think this is a great question. Through the terrain, throughout the entire course, even without the motivation of seeing other runners around you. So I think like what Toby's asking is like it's easier to run faster when you have people around you. You feel it
Yeah.
very well, especially on the track racing. Like so you do the
Mhm.
3K race, 5K race.
Yeah,
Having
exactly.
people around you just motivates you to move faster. And I think it's the same in a forest. So I guess what Toby is asking is how do you push yourself to be more aggressive when you're alone?
It's a really good question. Because I've never asked myself exactly that question. Um, I feel like I don't really think about it. I just I want to be fast. I want to be at the limit, like the fastest I can run um, at that given time. Um, so for me, it's probably harder to slow down
Hmm.
than to run faster. And like as I already mentioned, take the time to read the map carefully. Um, so I actually don't know how. Maybe it's just some fighter spirit. I don't know.
Okay. But I think it makes sense. I'm thinking now, is it different for different people? Is it possible? I guess it depends on your motivation, right? So if you
Mm,
really want to win and you're in a good shape, my experience is the same. It's actually much harder to slow down than to keep the pace. But let me ask a follow-up question. Do you think about the pace of how fast you're running during your race? Or do you like just focus on the map and whatever pace is a result of this, you accept it?
no, I think I think too much about it.
Okay.
Because sometimes I should definitely think less about it. As for example, in the end of a race, the long distance at World Champs this year, for example, I um, yeah asked myself several times during the race, during the last couple of controls, if I was really fast enough.
Hmm.
Because I felt like I was running slower than normal easy speed. Because I just didn't have any energy anymore. It was the legs were just empty.
Yeah.
And then I think it's better to not think about it.
Yeah. But hmm, I understand this. And I think it's true for many elite athletes, if not all of them, because at some level, you have to, like, the difference in speed is so marginal that you really have to push yourself and be exactly on this line of over pushing
Yeah.
if you want to be fighting for the top position or if you want to have your best possible performance during
Mm,
that day, not even thinking about the position. And it's hard to do this without thinking about your speed.
yeah.
So,
Or I
I
feel like when it goes well or when it feels good, then I think less about the pace.
yeah,
But as soon as it feels a bit tougher, and a bit worse, then I start to think about the pace, whether I'm fast enough or not.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting phenomenon, I think, because the races where you make the least mistakes are one of the easiest races physically, and almost every runner will tell you that. And I think the reason is because every control that you hit perfectly without making a mistake gives you another small boost of adrenaline, completion, success, and it just keeps you going. You're like, it's awesome, it's awesome, and then the energy is there, and you don't have to motivate yourself additionally. The problem is when, especially at the beginning of the race, like we've discussed earlier, you make this mistake, which is maybe not at 10 seconds, but it's like 30 seconds, 40 seconds mistake, talking about a forest race. And like, okay, this is significant, but okay, it's the beginning of the race. I need to keep pushing. There are still chances people will make mistakes, right? So you keep this delusional feeling that, okay, if I make mistakes, others will make mistakes as well. And you just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Always happens.
Yeah, it's always interesting. All right, I think last one. Since you train professionally 7 times a day, how important is it to take your mind off training throughout the year? And how do you do it? So I guess you could divide it into season and off season, and you can probably have different answers for those 2 periods.
Well, I think in off season, I sometimes like to just, like, for example, be in the mountains and go for nice trail runs. But during the season, I feel like it's not that important to me that I take my mind from orienteering. I feel like it doesn't take that much energy from me.
You don't feel the need to do it?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Because or sprint, yes. Then we split up again in forest and sprint. But forest races, I think I could look at maps forever.
Yeah.
Sprint races that's a bit harder. But I feel like I just love forest orienteering so much. It gives me some energy back more than it takes for me, maybe.
Okay. All right. So I think with this, you've answered my last question that I wanted to ask. Do you still love orienteering?
Of course. Of course I do. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't do it anymore. With all the training behind, I think it would be too much effort for not loving the sport.
Yeah. It's like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a silly question to ask anyone in orienteering. Like, it's sometimes you can find athletes that are good at a sport, but they don't love it. They will still do it because it pays enough.
Exactly.
Right? I don't think there is a lot of money in orienteering, and only like several top athletes can make a living out of it. So that's probably not the case for any person in orienteering. Have you read the book about Andrea Agassi?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Check it out if you have some time, and and you enjoy reading about other sports. The title is Open, and it's his story of how he became and the career of him playing tennis. And he's the person that has been telling from the beginning of the book that he hated playing tennis. But he was still doing it. It's such a good book, in my opinion. One of the best sports book I've read.
That's right.
All right, that's it. I think. Thank you so much, Simona, for taking your time to come here, sharing your thoughts with us. I'll be closely following your career, moving on, and wish you all the best in the upcoming races, seasons, and I'll be in touch.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.